Out here, Sigrist up a game. Both players playing Mono Blue Devotion. Been a very popular deck on camera this weekend.
Yeah, it's actually, it is very popular amongst our players to watch, actually. Yeah. Costa and Sigrist both playing it, Ross Merriam playing it, Reed Duke just cruising to top 8 with it.
So, Costa on the play for game 2, no play on turn 1, and a Tidebinder Mage on the second turn.
Tidebinder Mage, not at its best in this matchup, but of course you can't afford to take it out because of that crucial 2 devotion it provides.
A necessary evil here.
Yeah.
Sigrist with a Tidebinder Mage of his own on the second turn. That's going to evolve the Cloudfit Raptor.
So Blue Devotion mirrors are generally decided by big blowout trumps. If one player gets Thassa and the other does not, the Thassa player usually wins. If one player gets Master of Waves and the other does not, that kind of overrides the Thassa trump, I think.
So Matt offers up his Tidebinder Mage in combat. Mike blocks and trades, and post-combat Matt has a Nightveil Spectre.
And Mike Sigrist, considering his options, I don't see a third land in that hand.
Yep. No third land, so he's just going to go ahead and Cyclonic Rift the Nightveil Spectre back to hand, attack Matt for 1.
And that is not the ideal use of a Cyclonic Rift, but basically just functions as Time Walk here.
So Matt, with no fourth land of his own, just redeploys the Nightveil Spectre. Sigrist with his second Cloudfin Raptor and no other play.
Sitting on a Dispel, although there aren't really instances in this deck that Costa would be wanting to play on turn 4 anyway.
So the Nightveil Spectre comes across uncontested, shows a Domestication, but still no fourth land for Costa, just plays a Cloudfin Raptor post-combat.
Yeah, that Domestication is a pretty high impact card to flip over, although in this particular case, I think Mike is happy that he is 1 card deeper towards finding a land, although he didn't find one.
So it does not appear that Mike picked one up here.
And so
the Storm Crow beats continue uncontested here.
So, yeah, has the option to swing. It doesn't look like he had any 2-drop in his hand anyway, so no play that could grow it. Mike is just going to sit on that Dispel.
So Matthew starts off the turn with an attack here. Sigrist says no blocks. Here comes another Nightveil Spectre trigger. It's Tidebinder Mage.
You gotta love that, the old 0-1 attacker attacking into the 0-1.
And Costa has found his fourth land, just plays the Tidebinder Mage, evolves the Cloudfin Raptor, and passes back.
Yeah, it's interesting that he did not choose to use any of his 4-drops. Of course, he has Domestication that he kind of stole from Sigrist's deck. He has one of his own in his hand. But Sigrist passing the turn with 2 mana open suggests Gainsay. Of course, really, it suggests that he missed his land drop. But since Sigrist is going to have to tap his mana to stay at parity on board, assuming he hits his land, Costa would rather play prominent gainsayable threats on a turn when Mike has to make a sacrifice in order to leave the mana open for it.
Right. So Costa again just starts off the turn with an attack here. Tidebinder Mage and Nightveil Spectre finds an island off the top of Sigrist's deck. He's going to put it into play here. So now up to 5 mana, just passes the turn back.
And again, Costa ahead on board. No need to play into Gainsay. Would rather just wait until Mike makes the first move there.
So Mike's just going to pack it up here too far behind on the board to continue playing.
You do need lands.
And we're going to be going on to game number 3.
So taking a look at the sideboards here, Matt Costa has access to 3 Gainsay. He obviously wants those. 2 Negate, 2 Dispel, 2 Dissolve. Maybe wants the Dispels. 1 Domestication to go with the 1 that is already in his main deck. And then 1 Syncopate, 2 Jace Memory Adept, 1 Cyclonic Rift, and 1 Curse of the Swine.
We saw Costa with a Dispel in his hand over the course of that game. Not a lot of instants in these decks, but it is a very mana efficient against the instants that do come up.
Yeah, and particularly post-board, because Gainsay is so important, being able to counter back against a Gainsay for just 1 extra mana is pretty significant. You don't always have the luxury, but if you do have the luxury, it is a pretty significant difference between say turn 4 Master of Waves versus turn 5 Master of Waves with the spell backup.
So on Sigrist's side here, 2 copies of Jace Memory Adept, a Curse of Swine, 2 Domestication, a Cyclonic Rift, a Dispel, 2 Negate, 2 Dissolve, 4 Gainsay. I think we're going to see a lot of the same stuff here. The counterspells are going to be coming in, the Domestications as well, probably the Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah, the sideboard of the Mono Blue Devotion deck is pretty well set in stone at this point. You don't see a lot of variety. People have more or less figured out what works. Now, what works is a huge pile of counterspells. There's one prominent matchup where you basically want all of them against Sphinx's Revelation control decks. You basically make a 15-card swap or close to it and become more of an aggro control deck than you already are. But in other matchups, you basically just pick and choose. Is Gainsay your best counterspell? Is Negate your best counterspell? Is Dissolve your most reliable counterspell? And in the Mono Blue Mirror, Gainsay, of course, is the trump. Dispel is the answer to the trump.
And Cyclonic Rift and Rapid Hybridization, which are also really important parts of the puzzle at various points.
Yep. Yeah, my impression of the Mono Blue Mirror is that it basically comes down to avoiding getting blown out. Cyclonic Rift can be huge. Rapid Hybridization can be huge. Neither card, just on its face, is particularly threatening. But if you make the wrong attack into either of those cards, it can have huge repercussions. So insulating yourself from that however you can is a pretty big deal.
It does seem like the matchup is very much about being on the front foot or getting blown out by a trick. Those are the two things that seem to happen the most in the matchup.
Yeah. As I mentioned, Thassa, of course, one of the most important cards in this deck, just in general. But in the mirror, especially, if one player has it and the other does not, that can be more or less a decider. Master Wave's kind of the same effect, although post-board, once both players get to kind of maximize their domestications, their rapid hybridizations, all that, there are more answers to go around for opposing Master Waves.
It's interesting you should mention how set in stone these lists are. These lists are surprisingly similar, or maybe not surprisingly similar. Mike Sigrist with a main deck Hall of Triumph, Costa with a main deck Domestication, otherwise the same 60.
Yep.
And then post-board, pretty much the same sideboard. Costa has a Syncopate in his sideboard instead of the second copy of Domestication, because Sigrist, he already has one in the main deck.
Right.
And otherwise...
Sigrist has a fourth Gainsay.
It's a fourth Gainsay?
It's a pretty big deal here. But,
yes.
Yeah, it's subtle tweaks. It's two of this instead of one of that kind of thing. There are very few just completely like new looks that you see out of Mono Blue Devotion.
Yeah, even down to the one Curse of the Swine here. Makes me think maybe they consulted each other with their deck lists.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty likely outcome. Of course, these players do know each other, both of them from the Boston area.
They're buds.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually saw that last week in Portland. We had Adam Ruprecht and Josh Ravitz playing a Mono Blue Devotion mirror for top 8, and they were 74-75 mirrors. And we suspected that they had worked together, although we didn't know.
The 4-ofs are kind of set in stone.
Yeah.
And that doesn't allow for a lot of room to do other things.
Yeah, it seems like every set that has come out since Theros, there have been blue cards that people have looked at and said, maybe we want to do this. This could be cool.
A Hypnotic Siren.
Hypnotic Siren was a pretty prominent one. The Ephora, God of the Polis, the Tension Sphere Splash, that one kind of took hold for a while and has kind of fallen by the wayside. But yeah, just not a ton of room to wiggle. I don't want to say that the cards that they currently play are too good, because there are things like Judge's Familiar in here,
yeah.
you know. But the cards in the main deck of Mono Blue Devotion, they're all kind of cogs in the machine.
They're either all objectively powerful or necessary evils.
Yes, they are either objectively powerful or cards that actually make the objectively powerful cards work.
Yep. So both players mulligan here, and Sigrist's going to start off with an Island and a Cloudfin Raptor. Neither player with a play on the second turn of the game.
So, representing Gainsays left and right, kind of staring each other down, seeing what's up.
So, pre-combat Judge's Familiar here from Mike. Let's see if that prompts any sort of response here from Matt. It's going to be met by Gainsay. And Mike is going to dispel back, so a lot of fight over this Judge's Familiar.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's I was just kind of got a little dig at the Judge's Familiar, and here are these players ready and willing to fight over it.
So there is a third Island from Matt on the third turn and a Night Veil Spectre. That's going to be immediately met by Rapid Hybridization out of Mike.
Now, of course, Judge's Familiar actually is pretty significant in mirrors for all the reasons that we've been discussing. You know, Gainsay and Dispel against the Gainsay. Yeah, you kind of get in these shootouts where you play a big threat and then people show counters and then show counters to the counters. Judge's Familiar plays into that. If you have a Judge's Familiar in play, you are insulated against your opponent's Gainsay or against your opponent's Dispel in those situations.
So Matt with a 4th land elects not to play Master of Waves or Domestication, just leaving up his counterspell mana. Mike doing the same thing. So both players just racing right now. Costa comes across with the Frog Lizard, currently ahead of the race.
Yeah, Costa with the 3/3 is winning the race, so there's no reason for him to get aggressive, start tapping out for things, exposing himself to blowouts of various degrees.
So Costa happy to untap and just attack again. Looks like a loaded hand here, but no reason to blink.
Yeah. A lot of juice on both sides.
2 flyers come across again. Costa down to 11. 5th land from Sigrist. No play.
I love the stare down.
And a Mutavault off the top for Costa. That's significant both as more mana and a threat.
Yeah, that makes us a 2-turn clock, so Sigrist has to do something. And of course, he's been given a very, very obvious target for this Gainsay. So
here comes Master Waves.
Is he going to fight back? Actually, it looks like he does not. Oh, yeah, there he is. He has the Gainsay. So
but there is a Judge's Familiar in play.
Yeah.
So we'll see if Costa wants to fight back here. Says no, just lets the Master of Waves go.
You are not in the match. Nicholas Day and Brian Lynch, please come see the scorekeeper. That's Nicholas Day and Brian Lynch.
Using the Gainsay there, you'd basically be trading it for a Judge's Familiar, although you're going to have to do that anyway if Sigrist plays anything scary here, which you've given him a window to do.
So Sigrist is going to try to play a Tiebinder Mage here.
Tiebinder Mage, nothing to sneeze at on this board. That's going to tap down the Frog Lizard and evolve the Cloudfin Raptor to
It's a big swing in the race, potentially.
Yes.
So does Costa want to fight over this?
And again, he can't actually fight over this. He can choose to trade his Gainsay for Judge's Familiar. He can pick a spot to do that. He also has a Rapid Hybridization in his hand, so he could potentially trade his Frog Lizard for a different Frog Lizard to kind of unlock it from the Tidebinder Mage. That's a play he could have made. But he is just going to trade Gainsay for Judge's Familiar there.
So Tidebinder Mage comes down, that locks down the Frog Lizard. Cloudfin Raptor across for 2.
And a window to cast Domestication, which I'm certainly happy to do in Costa's spot. I think he has to suspect Rapid Hybridization out of Sigrist here.
He's tapping 4 here. He's going to try pauses. He also has Master of Waves he could try to lead off with. Looks like it's going to be Domestication on the Cloudfin Raptor.
Yeah, Master of Waves would generate a single elemental on this board, so not a play Costa would be happy making.
All right, and Sigrist with the Gainsay, which resolves.
That leaves Costa with Rapid Hybridization and Master of Waves, I believe.
Yep. So Mutavault comes across here for 2.
So knock Sigrist down to 6. Mike has 4 power in play. Costa conveniently at 9, which is so much more than 8. But that Master Wave is really going to cost some trouble.
All right, big play here from Sigrist here with the Master of Waves. That's going to be 4 tokens coming in.
And we know Matt does have Rapid Hybridization.
But even getting a 3/3 in this spot's very good for Sigrist.
I agree. I think Matt was hoping to use his Rapid Hybridization in combat here to kind of instant speed. It looks like he's still going to do that.
So he's basically going to use Rapid Hybridization to untap his Frog Lizard and jumps out in front of the Tidebinder Mage.
And we know he had a Master of Waves, which actually currently has no devotion help here. And I believe the draw was Gainsay.
Just an island. So here's a Master of Waves 4/1 from Costa.
So that is a little bit anemic here. Costa has a 3/3, which sort of stabilizes the ground, but on a clock from that Cloudfin Raptor, and actually might be Yeah, if Mike can evolve his Cloudfin Raptor, then Costa's dead on board. If I have done the math right.
So Costa seeing if he can make any attacks here. Remember, his Mutavaults are 3/3s for the time being. So
I missed those Mutavaults, so never mind. Forgot about that for a second.
So we'll see if Costa can make a move here. All the information face up. Costa with no cards in hand.
So basically crunching the numbers. What can I afford to do? The Frog could attack and force Sigrist to lose 2 of his elementals.
Well, Mike can also just let it come through.
Sure.
It does open up potentially Thassa being an issue next turn. But
Right. Well, I think Thassa's an issue no matter what.
that is likely the case.
Yeah, Thassa would evolve the Cloudfin Raptor and I guess not actually close it out from there, but
Oh, and Sigrist with the domestication here.
and that I think does it. So Costa's going to lose 2 blockers, so now only has 3 total, and the elementals now all 3/2s.
So we'll see here. Again, all face up. Costa no cards in hand. And here comes the attack, and I
Yeah.
think that is going to do it.
Costa can make 3 blockers, jump in front of the 3 elementals, and take 7.
And that's going to do it. Mike Sigrist, your Grand Prix Washington, D.C. champion, appears to have locked up a top 8 berth, defeating Matt Costa 2-1 in the Mono Blue Devotion Mirror match.
Looking for the old back-to-back weekends.
Pretty impressive run here for Sigrist.